Hello everyone. Today we're going to look at preferences inside the SecondLife viewer. So in SecondLife you use a viewer. This is a viewer that I'm using here, the SecondLife viewer. And your preferences help you to control your experience inside the world of SecondLife. So you control lots of different settings. Some of the most important have to do with your system and your graphics settings. So we're going to go through some of those things here today. I'm going to go through all these tabs. So you go to Me, Preferences, and you'll get this tab. Or you can go to, you can hit Control plus P. So, the General tab. Language is self-explanatory. You have the system default, or you can choose access content rated. So this is basically has to do with what places that you can go to. So if you're not verified to go to adult places, then you won't be able to go there, and you won't have you probably won't have all these options either. So you can choose one if you want to restrict yourself. Start location. Now this has to do with when you log in. So when you log in, you can go to my last location, or you can go to your home. So in SecondLife, you can set a home place for you to always go to, and you can do that by going to wherever you want your home to be, and then going to World and Set Home here. And then if you choose My Home as your start location, then you'll always log in at that spot. And you might want to show on login for that. Now I always like to go to my last place, so that's what I choose. Name tags. Okay, so this is what is above your head. This allows other people to see what your name is and everything, but it's totally independent of what you do. So your settings don't affect anybody else. Everybody else can do things however they want. So your name tag, you can turn it off. If you look above my head, now it's off. You look above my head now, it's on. You can show briefly, which is what I like to do. Or, and that'll just go away. If you show briefly, it'll go away, but if I'm talking to somebody and I forget what their name is, I can look away from them, take them out of my screen, and then look back towards them, and you can see their name again briefly. So then you have these other options like your name, your usernames, group title, highlight friends. I'm not so sure that highlight friends works with your name tag above. I think it only has to do with your mini-map. So if you look on this mini-map, I have two dots that are yellow, because the other yellow one is my alt. And then I have another dot here that is green, and I don't know that person, so they're not my friend. Let's put it that way. Now display names has to do, you can choose another name other than your default username. You're not really going over top of your name, you're not editing your username, you're just giving yourself another title. So you can use that. I don't generally use that, but lots of people do. Pressing letter keys. Now this controls what happens when you press a letter key. Now you have two options. You can start local chat. So as soon as you start typing in on your keyboard, it will go right into local chat here. Or if you choose this option, then you can use your letter keys to move around. like you would in many different first-person shooter games or anything like that. I like to go to local chat. I'm just used to that. Away time out. So this has to do with how long before you go AFK. So away from keyboard. So if you have nothing going on, if you're not touching your keyboard or your mouse or anything, then you can set this to show people that you're not at your keyboard. And you can set the time limits on this. Now, there's some issues, there have been some issues with this in the past, and this really doesn't matter to me, so I always set it to never. Busy mode response. Now, busy mode, you can set yourself to be busy or away. So if you go to me, status, away, or busy, you can set yourself to be in busy mode. So the reason for this is if you are making objects or you're creating something in Second Life, you might not want to be bothered by friends or customers or other people because you want to concentrate on what you're working on. So you can set yourself to busy and then add in your own custom message. Now, for me, I do create a lot, but I like my customers and friends and stuff to chat with me while I'm working, so I don't use that feature either. So graphics, let's go on to graphics here. Graphics are probably some of the most important settings that you want to play around with. You don't have to really worry, you're not going to ruin anything, but especially if you have a lower end computer that's not created for gaming, you're going to want to play with a lot of these different settings. And generally, this is how I keep my setup, okay, for all my different settings, because I don't always want all the high detail when I'm working on something. I might turn on some of the high details like transparent water, atmospheric shaders, lighting and shadows and all that. I might use all of these features at some point, but not generally when I'm building or doing normal stuff in Second Life. So and each one of these features adds more data that your computer needs to download, that your computer needs to process. And if you look on the side at my statistics here, you can see my frame rate, and this is a good judge of what your preferences are doing to your experience. Now, 16 frames per second is not bad, and it's actually only this low because I'm recording while I'm doing all this. But if I turn off different features, you can see that frames per second will go up slightly. So if I turn off bump mapping and local lights, some basic shaders, and you'll see it jumps up to almost 18 frames per second. And if I turn everything on, you'll see it will start to get very low. So now I'm at about 5 frames per second, which is not horrible, but it's not good. You want to get at least somewhere around 10 to 15 frames per second. Generally more is better. 30 frames per second is kick-ass. So let's turn some of this off. And your draw distance and everything on the right side here, this can get pretty complicated. But it all has to do with how much your computer needs to render. See, my draw distance is set at 160 meters. Now this has to do with how far I can see. If you look around me, let me get something that's you might be able to see a little bit better. Like this, okay. I know there's stuff on the other side there. So if I turn this all the way up to 400 and some meters, I can see these buildings back here. And I can see these trees in the background here. All of this stuff is making my computer have to render all of these items way far in the background. I can even look up in the sky. See, people have little sky places that they do things at. Now, you're not going to generally want it this high, but if you're taking pictures and things like that, then you might want to turn your draw distance up. I generally keep it around 150, somewhere in there. If you have a lower end computer, you will want to turn this down as far as you can go, probably. But I keep it about 160. Max particle count. This has to do with the particles. If you see these snowflakes around me, they are particles that are rendered. Okay? And this also has to do with, like I said, how much your computer has to render. I could turn this up and I could see every particle that's being rezzed around me, but it could slow down my computer. So I generally keep it around 2000 for my computer. It might be different for yours. Max number of non-imposter avatars. Okay, now I should probably go into imposters first. Now, imposters down here has to do with how the avatars are rendered around you. If you're in a room full of people, then you probably want to have avatar imposters on, because what it does is, instead of rendering every person in full 3D, it turns the person into somewhat of a cardboard cutout, so that your computer is not rendering it in 3D. So avatar imposters will save some computer processing. And this setting, the max number of non-imposter avatars, you can turn this up and down depending on your computer. Yeah, if you have a kick-ass computer and you want to see everyone in 3D, you can turn it up. Now, if you have a lower-end computer and it struggles to render things, you might want to set this down as low as 5 or 4. 12 is probably pretty good for me. I'm rarely in a room with more than 12 people. Post-processing quality. I generally don't see much difference in this, so I always keep it low because I want things to be fast. So, mesh detail. This can be pretty important. This has to do with the amount of detail that you can see. If I were to turn objects all the way down, if you look at this pole here, it now looks octagon, when really it was round. Okay, now this is all about what kind of computer you have. If you do not have a very powerful computer, you might want to turn objects down. Okay, all of these settings help you to control what your computer, how much data your computer needs to process. Flexi prims, I don't generally see a lot of flexi prims, so I don't keep it up very high. Trees, I like to see my trees, so I keep that at a mid-level, but if you turn it up, you'll get a little bit more detail in your trees. And if you turn it down, then you can have your trees totally disappear. Now this has to do with SecondLife trees that are made by Linden Lab. It's not going to affect all the trees that you see. So let's keep mine at mid. And avatars, this has to do with the quality of the avatar, the detail of it. I generally keep this very high because I want to see everybody as good as I can. But I don't really see a huge amount of difference when you turn it down. But I generally keep it pretty high. Your terrain, this could be pretty important. I like to keep it low because I don't really care about what the terrain looks like. So I keep it low. If you turn it up, the difference can be minute. Sometimes it can be make a big difference. It's really up to you. But I generally keep it low. And then your sky, because you won't have this option unless you turn on atmospheric shaders. But if you look up at the sky here, the higher quality I go, the better the sky is going to be. Now you can't really tell here. I don't know why. Maybe I need to apply. I don't really see a big difference there, but I don't generally use it too much. It is nice to see clouds sometimes, especially when you're taking pictures and things like that. Okay, so reflection, if you have all your settings on, all your different atmospheric shaders and everything on, then you can set the reflection to show some items but not all items. This all has to do with rendering, how much your computer is processing. Like I said, if you have a good computer, you can put it up to everything. If your computer is not all that great, you want to keep it low. But it's not even going to be used if you don't have these other shaders on. Avatar physics has to do with, your butt can bounce, your boobs can bounce. I even think some of the clothing items, like your pant legs, can move around. Or that has to do with avatar cloth. So if I turned on avatar cloth, then my legs here, and I think it happens on the arms too, will move a little bit more like cloth. I don't generally use this because I don't care about that. And then you would have to apply if you change something. And then let's see, hardware here. This can be important. Anthoscopic filtering will smooth things out, smooth all the rough edges. Like you see here, this looks like a rough edge here. Well, anthoscopic filtering would smooth that out. Same thing with anti-aliasing. Now I keep these off because I want things to run really fast, and if you turn these on, it could slow down your computer a little bit. Some of these other features I don't really use. Gamma I don't use. You probably don't want to mess with that too much unless your scene is really dark. Enable OpenGL, I usually keep this on. Enable texture compression. I don't generally use this. I haven't even tried it actually. Maybe I will someday though. And your fog level. Generally I don't touch a lot of this unless I'm turning off anthoscopic filtering or anti-aliasing. Sound and media. Now these are the different settings that you can have for different sounds that you might have. You have your master volume, you have buttons. So anytime you click on any buttons anywhere, then there would be a sound to that. See? Ambient sound, that has to do with scripted sounds. Same thing with sound effects. So this would be a sound that comes off of an object. Streaming music has to do with music streams that come from your LAN, basically, and they get streamed into Second Life. Media would have to do with if you have a board where you can watch a video. So if you see here, if I hover over this, you get all these browser type of settings, and if I click on this, then I'll have a video play, and this media volume would control that sound. What else here? Voice chat. So that would control the volume of your voice. Allow auto to autoplay. You generally don't want to use this because if you teleport into a place and it has music playing, it will automatically start to play that music or any other media thing they have connected. So you generally want to keep this off. Play media attached to other avatars. So an avatar could wear something and it could play a video on it or something like that. Again, generally you don't want to have that on. These things will slow down your computer too. It means you're downloading, it could be a video or something else at the same time that your computer's downloading the world of Second Life. Play sounds from gestures. Generally you want to have this on. People like to use gestures. Some people abuse them. But in general, you want to keep that on because if somebody's trying to communicate with you using a gesture, you want to know what the hell they're saying. So now you have a couple voice settings here. You can listen from the camera position or from the avatar position. Generally, you want to use the camera because if you can't hear somebody, then you can kind of focus on them and zoom in on them, and then you might be able to hear them better. Move avatar lips when speaking. Now you can see this on my avatar as I'm talking here. My lips move. It does an okay job. It's not great. Toggle speak on and off when I press. So you can set up a key to press to turn your microphone on and off. And then you have inputs. If your mic isn't working, you can test it all out here. Okay, the chat tab. So we can change your font size, play typing animation when chatting. So if I were to chat in here, this would play a typing animation. I have new typing animation inside of my AO, so it doesn't use the default animation. It uses one that I created. For you though, it will probably end up playing some default one where you're typing on a typing keyboard. Email me IMs when I'm offline. So this obviously will send you emails if someone IMs you. You have to remember though that these get capped, so if you haven't logged into Second Life in a long time, you can expect to lose all those IMs if you don't log in. So just remember that. Enable plain text IM and chat history. So I like to use this. All this means is that, let me see if I can find someone to chat with. I'll chat with myself. So here's my avatar. I am him. And if you look at this, you can look at the difference. So I can type to him. And if I enable plain chat, then this might need a restart to make it go. Then it won't show each other's names. It'll show the name at the beginning, but it won't show these symbols. And bubble chat is the chat that's above your head. So it'll show the words that you say above your head. I like to use that. I don't always like to look on the side to see that. So show IMs in a separate window. I don't use this. I usually use tabs. If you use it in a separate window, that means that every person that you're talking to in IM will get a separate one of these windows. And that can be cause a lot of screen clutter. So I don't like to use separate windows. I use tabs. Enable incoming chat pop-ups. So who are you gonna get pop-ups from? You can get them from your group chats or your IM chats. Generally, I like to turn group chats off because they can be annoying at times. I'm actually going to set that. We'll bring preferences back. So I like to use just IM chats. And your nearby chat toast times. So, up here you'll see these chat things that go on. They're like notifications, things like that. And how long these get displayed, or your chat, if you have your chat closed and someone talks to you, this determines how long you will see that text. Okay. Now, some people might want much longer than 23 seconds. Some people might want less. Who knows? And then you have a fade time. And then you have translation. Most of these translation things you might need to pay for. So back in the day, we used to get these for free, but now we have to pay for them. So generally, I don't use them anymore. There are lots of other things that creators in Second Life have created to use for chat. But generally, because I speak English, I don't need most of these, because if someone speaks Italian, they're gonna automatically have a translator to English. So at least that's been my experience. Auto replace, I have no idea what this does. Oh, so it's for when you're chatting. You can type in corrections. I don't know how useful that is. And then you have spell check. And I always try and keep it on. Move and view. So you have your view angle, which you can change this. And then your distance. Automatic position for build edit. I don't like this. What this does, I'll show you. So if you turn this on and I want to edit this, the camera will automatically zoom onto that object. It can be kind of handy, but it can be annoying too. So generally I don't keep this on. but I do keep it on for when I'm changing my appearance. So if I were to go right click, my appearance, and then I would edit something, automatically it would show me so that I could edit him. So let's turn that off. Your keyboard, arrow keys always move me. I like to keep that checked. Tap, tap, hold to run. Now this has to do with your running. You can go Control R, I think, to run all the time. So let's see if that works. So see, I'm just pressing forward and I'm running all the time. Or what's a little more handy, so I'll go Control R again to stop that, is you use this tap, tap, hold to run. So if I tap real quick, I can run. But if I just press forward, I'll walk. And again, if I tap, tap, now I'm running again. Okay, now show me in mouse look. I like to use this because I like to use guns and stuff in Second Life. And if you go zoom in, see, I can see myself. And if I'm holding a gun, I'll be able to see that gun also. If you turn this off, now I won't be able to see myself. There's nothing there, see? Now it could be handy for some people if you use a specific avatar that gets in the way and you can't see through it. You might want to turn Show Me in Mouse Look off. So mouse look sensitivity, this is, you can turn that up or down. Single click on land, I turn both of these off because I like to turn myself using my mouse, so I can just click myself and turn. And I don't use this double click on land action. I'll kind of show you. Move to click point. So if I go like this, I might have to do that. If I click a point, then I'll just walk to it. Some people find this handy. I don't generally like to use it myself. So we'll go back to preferences. So that's how that works. And single click, I think, just kind of works the same way. But you're just single clicking. But if you accidentally click on stuff, bad things could happen. If you don't want to move or you can't move. So generally, I turn both of these off. And let's save that. Notifications. I'm not going to go too much into these notifications. You're going to have to go through each one of these if you want to play around with them. But I'll show you basically what I do when, I always check when I spend or get lendings, because I want to know when people are paying me or when I'm paying someone else. When my friends log in and out, I do not like to use this, because if you take a look at my friends list here, it is huge. And if I had that turned on, I would be getting notices every second that I was logged into Second Life. So I keep that unchecked. And then the only other one I use is I never show confirm before dropping attachments, because I have some games that I've created where I drop things all the time and I don't want to get that message. So you will need to go through each one of these and look at them. If you don't want them to show, you just have to select it and hit this arrow. Okay, so now colors. Now this is more about customizing how things work for you. Notice that this is my effects. So if I were to click on something and edit it, you will see that there's a line coming from my hand. This has to do with this color. So I don't know why it's set to this color, but I kind of like something like that. So I'll change it, and you see now my sky has an aqua color to it. And the rest of these have to do with chat. So the chat that comes directly from me is going to be in white. The chat that comes from others, I could make it purple. The chat that comes from an object will be green. My system, from the system, I could make this like a yellow color. Errors are red. That's a pretty good choice there. But you can change each one of these. A direct from the owner of an object, all URLs. I'm going to change this to like a blue, but not so blue. Here we go. Let's go like that. Maybe a little bit lighter. There we go. Yeah, so blue URLs. Name tag background color. Okay, this has to do with your name above your head. So if I turn this down, it can be totally see-through. Turn it up, it can be totally black. Or you can change the color to whatever you want. Green. Not very nice, but whatever. I just keep it the same. And I like it a little bit see-through. Your floaters, okay, these has to do with the windows. All these windows that show up all are controlled by these active and non-active floaters. And maybe this map window doesn't do it. Let's choose a different one. Let's choose this one. So if you look, I can turn this down, I can turn this up. And those are whatever ones you're actively on. So if I'm on here, and I'm going, that doesn't seem to work for that. Yeah, it does. It just doesn't go back and forth when you want it to. You have to click on it. So yeah, you can make these things completely transparent. So this is the active one, so you want this one to be kind of high. If you look here, that's pretty high. And then when they're inactive, you could make them totally disappear. So if you're not using it, then you can barely see it. And I like to keep it something around there. So let's go back to our preferences. So that's the colors window. So, privacy. Now, show me in search. That can be very useful if you want more privacy. You don't want people to know or find you. You can uncheck this. This can cause problems though if a merchant is trying to contact you with a problem with the product. If a merchant is trying to send you an update, this could all be a problem if you don't show me in search. Clear history just has to do with your location, images, web, all of that history. Only friends and groups know I'm online, so you can restrict that. Only friends and groups can call me in IM. You can restrict that. Switch off microphone when ending calls. That has to do with when you're using voice and you're talking to someone in an IM window. So they're not directly in front of you. You're talking to them in voice through just like Skype or something. Show my favorite landmarks on login. You can click that. Log chats. Now, logging chats can be very important if you are having conversations with people or you're doing business with people. Then you can have it so all your chats get logged on your computer. So if later you say, well, I don't remember what this person said, you can go back and check your logs. Now this shows your log location too. So if you need to go back and check a conversation that you had with somebody, you can go back to this location on your computer and try and find or read that conversation that you had with somebody. And most of the time, I only keep this logged for IMs only. I generally don't keep this for chat logs, just for IMs, and if I want to do business, I'll only do business in my IM chats. So let's save that, since I changed it. And timestamps and all that. And you can change this location too. Setup. So your bandwidth. Generally, you might want to turn this up or down depending on what kind of internet connection that you have. Custom ports, I wouldn't touch that unless you know a lot about it. What browser? So if somebody sends you a link and you can click on it from chat, then it'll open up a browser and you can have it whatever your default browser is. And then you have these options to choose from. Software updates. I like to keep the latest viewer coming in. Back in the day, we used to have a lot of problems with updates, and sometimes something would break. But generally today, we don't have that problem, so it's useful to install automatically, so you don't have to deal with it. And proxy settings, again, same thing with custom ports. Unless you know a lot about it, don't touch it. Okay, last tab here, caches. Now, this is pretty important, okay? Like, I like to think of this like a game that you would buy. So if you bought a game from a store, a PC game, that game might be 6 gigs large. And it takes that 6 gigs to render all the objects in the game. Well, you have to think about that in the same way in Second Life. That's why I have mine at 5,000, because that's about 6 gigs, or about 5 gigs. So my computer will hold about 5 gigs worth of data, so that my computer's not constantly re-rendering or re-downloading things that I'm seeing. If you keep this really low, then your computer will constantly be deleting and uploading objects that you're looking at, and it makes your computer act really slow. Okay, it can slow things down. And then you have your cache location, which you can change. Show script errors, I set it to a separate window so that something pops up and I know it's a script error. And then you have all these checkboxes. Allow multiple viewers, so you could run 2 viewers on the same computer at the same time. But remember, that's 2 versions of the viewer that are both downloading data, so it's going to slow your computer down. Show grid selection on login. You generally probably want to do that. Show advanced menu, that has to do with this little tab here. And show developers menu, that's this one. Okay, so that's basically it with the preferences. There's kind of a lot there. I know this is probably a long video, but I hope I cleared up some things that some confusions you might have with the preferences, and I hope you have a good one. All right, bye.